Caitlin Clark's season is over does not mean we are going to stop talking about her. So let's continue.
Fanatics sold more Clark jerseys in 1 hour after she was drafted than any other sport or player ever.
Yes. The women have the headlines, they have the fans, they have the viewers. When the hell are they going to get paid?
She became their vessel to express a lot of the hateful and racist opinions that they had about Black women. She has some very predictable people angry at her because they never were fans of hers.
Jemele Hill, obviously always needing to say something, to chime in, to add her voice to the conversation, even when it's not necessarily needed. Basically saying Caitlin Clark is not responsible for all of this and we shouldn't pretend like she is. But she keeps neglecting to realize that the reason the league is up as a whole, every single team's ratings, are because Caitlin Clark entered the league.
They just like the idea of weaponizing her success against other Black women who they can't stand.
Just imagine making more money in 30 minutes than most people do in a year. That's Caitlin Clark's reality.
This is a dream come true. Like, these are the moments you dream of.
The WNBA was the welfare recipient of the NBA. Nobody gave a rat's ass about women's basketball. Women don't even give a rat's ass about women's basketball. The WNBA was subsidized by the NBA. It is the welfare recipient of the NBA.
The Indiana Fever superstar isn't just breaking records on the court, she's redefining what it means to be a female athlete off the court. But while Caitlin is earning applause and $600,000 for her words of inspiration, Angel Reese and Jemele Hill are busy fueling drama with their constant race card narratives and baseless attacks.
Hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, see, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards. It is bad news for the WNBA that she's not continuing to play.
Are they going to be pointing fingers and blaming Indiana Fever fans and Caitlin Clark fans whenever the ratings don't stay the same?
Yeah, they will.
In today's video, we expose the truth behind their jealousy and spotlight how Caitlin Clark is winning, not just financially, but in the hearts of fans everywhere. Buckle up. This is a story you won't want to miss.
She knows, like a lot of white players in the WNBA know, and they've said it, Kelsey Plum, Breanna Stewart, is that they get elevated, they get marketed, they get pushed in a way that Black women in that league who have accomplished similar things do not get the same endorsement opportunities, the same marketing.
Caitlin Clark's incredible rise isn't just confined to her basketball prowess. Her off-court success tells an equally compelling story. At just 22, Clark has shattered expectations, earning a staggering $600,000 through 6 virtual speaking engagements over the past year alone.
Caitlin Clark should be getting so much more credit, but unfortunately there are still haters who are trying to bring her down.
WNBA players and their pretend friends in the mainstream media, they have done everything they can to diminish the impact of Caitlin Clark. They tried to convince us that there are other players in the dump capable of drawing an audience. They tried to convince us that other players deserve the spotlight.
Her speaking fee, reportedly starting at $100,000 for a 30-minute session, highlights the extraordinary value she brings to any platform. For context, this single engagement fee eclipses her entire annual WNBA salary, which stood at $76,535 during her rookie year.
The entire Fever payroll is $1.2 million.
Less.
That is less than the minimum salary for a single NBA player with a year's experience.
It does seem terribly unfair, right? The salary amount.
Despite being the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, Clark's basketball earnings pale in comparison to the wealth she generates off the court. With lucrative endorsement deals from Nike, Wilson Gatorade, Topps, and State Farm, her annual income surpasses $3 million, and her net worth is already estimated at $4 million.
40% of NBA league revenues go to player salaries in the NBA. In the WNBA, they only put forth 10%.
Her 8-year partnership with Nike alone is worth a jaw-dropping $28 million, solidifying her status as a trailblazer in women's sports.
Do you know what Caitlin Clark just got the contract from Nike?
Nike.
You know what the contract is?
I want to say it's $3 million a year for 8 to 10 years. It's almost $30 million, something like that.
This is WNBA paying Caitlin Clark $28 million. Good for freaking you.
One standout example of her appeal came during the David Letterman Distinguished Professional Lecture and Workshop Series, where her conversation reportedly earned her $100,000. Even Don Steinbrugge, the founder of Agecroft Partners, publicly acknowledged Clark's impressive fee, stating that her value far exceeded their budget for a virtual 30-minute speaking event.
She's really looking out for everybody else. And it's so sad that there are so many people that continue to turn a blind eye to that. Knowing how selfless she is, and they still want to say, Caitlin Clark, she's not the reason. Let's give other players their flowers. No, Caitlin Clark is the reason.
Yet as Clark sets new standards, she faces unwarranted criticism from individuals like Angel Reese, who dismiss her achievements with baseless remarks. Some critics claim Clark is overvalued, with one fan sarcastically commenting, $100K to speak? This chick really thinks she's Jordan.
I knew this moment would unfortunately come for Caitlin Clark, who is probably the most unintentionally controversial athlete in professional sports right now.
But for every doubter, there are countless supporters who recognize her influence. As one admirer aptly put it, Caitlin Clark is really raising the bar for female athletes, and all they do is hate on her.
In the Indiana Fever, president Allison Barber revealed this request made by Clark during the season. Listen.
After a few away games and all of the sellouts, Caitlin asked the WNBA if they would pay spot bonuses to the away team players. She said, wow, we're making all this new revenue, and I would like the away team to benefit from that. Could they get a spot bonus? So that's the heart of Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's a classy, amazing person.
Caitlin Clark to approach the president of the WNBA and make this request. A 22-year-old. The maturity level that she possesses is unfound. I mean, so much respect for her.
Clark's success is not just a personal victory, it's a win for women's sports, inspiring countless young athletes to dream bigger. Unfortunately, her achievements have also attracted unwarranted hostility, largely from those unable to match her level of excellence and charisma. While Caitlin Clark's success has been celebrated by many, it has also become a lightning rod for criticism, often fueled by figures like Jemele Hill and Angel Reese.
The more that she says, like, hey, haters, like, it wasn't this, I'm this, it fuels those negative people to continue saying negative things about you.
Jemele Hill, a known commentator with a history of inflammatory remarks, once again found herself at the center of controversy. In a now-deleted tweet, Hill claimed that Caitlin Clark does not face the same level of hate as black women in the WNBA, implying that Clark's popularity is solely due to her race. The tweet suggested that Clark's critics are not as vicious or persistent as those targeting players like Angel Reese or Alea Boston, and it quickly became ammunition for those looking to downplay Clark's success.
We understand the legendary OG lesbians, the African-American lesbians, the African-American lesbian fans of the WNBA who have not grown the league even a little bit in 27 years are all upset. We understand in this world that the easiest thing for really stupid people like Angel Reese to do is to claim racism.
However, Hill's narrative didn't hold up for long. Social media erupted, pointing out the fallacies in her argument. Critics reminded Hill that Caitlin Clark, too, has faced harassment, including a dangerous stalker incident.
Texas man is charged with stalking Fever star Caitlin Clark.
The first 15 seconds of this initial hearing caught everyone in the courtroom off guard, as 55-year-old Michael Lewis wasted no time admitting to the charges he's facing.
But what often happens is that something really bad has to happen to these women before they do take an interest.
The man accused of stalking Caitlin Clark is back in jail.
A 55-year-old man from Texas was recently arrested for stalking Clark, reportedly sending disturbing messages, circling her house, and creating a real threat to her safety. Despite this, Hill and Reese remain silent on the matter, raising questions about their selective outrage. What's more, Hill's deleted tweet did not go unnoticed. Public figures like Dan Dockich highlighted her inconsistency, stating, Jemele Hill talks about victimization, yet when Caitlin Clark is actually in danger, there's radio silence. Dockich and others criticized Hill for perpetuating a divisive narrative that pits players against each other based on race rather than focusing on the genuine issues at hand.
in a lot of areas of the world, right? The people that claim racist the most, generally speaking, are the most racist ones themselves, right? Because sometimes you just don't need to talk about it.
Caitlyn has not had a proactive approach around toxic fandom and what's appropriate for or something that she celebrates or likes to see in her fan base, or being proactive against any type of hateful discourse around WNBA and its players.
She is mad, Rose Golden-Wude is mad that Caitlin Clark has not gone out of her way during her rookie season, when she's ultra focused on basketball, to focus on race relations in the WNBA, to focus on racial tensions, which Caitlin Clark has nothing to do with.
Angel Reese, on the other hand, has not only failed to publicly support Clark during this ordeal, but has also added fuel to the fire by repeatedly trying to tarnish Clark's image. Reese, known for her attention-grabbing antics, has long accused Clark of being overhyped because of her race.
We were not talking about Caitlin Clark before that moment.
It makes no sense to me.
Let's face reality.
Well, we have to remember one thing. She's not Caitlin Clark.
If Angel Reese had never waved her hand in her face when LSU was beating Iowa, if that hadn't happened, Angel Reese's name might not be as big. Yes, she would have made the WNBA. But in terms of her popularity, it really soared after she took down Caitlin Clark. And then Caitlin Clark came back and got revenge by knocking LSU out.
Angel Reese is riding Caitlin Clark's coattails.
She's going to be attached to Caitlin Clark to some degree.
However, the hypocrisy is glaring. Reese herself courts attention with provocative behaviors, from flaunting her body in revealing outfits to making controversial comments about her peers. This behavior contrasts sharply with Clark's focus on performance and professionalism. Caitlin Clark's actions, whether on or off the court, have been about breaking barriers and setting new standards for women's sports. In stark opposition, Reese and Hill seem more invested in divisive narratives and personal vendettas, which only highlight their inability to match Clark's level of grace and achievement.
She was seen during various interviews and what have you, talking about threats, talking about insults, crying about how people were coming at her with such venom and hostility, particularly in her last year at LSU. She brought up all of these things, which means she was aware of it. And if you're aware of it, you have to understand that that's going to be part of the judgment that comes against you, fair or unfair.
After the season, and when I was in my press conference and I was talking about being sexualized, like, I guess people thought that was like, because I post pictures in my bathing suits. No, like, multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me, like, naked.
She claimed to be sexualized. What is that? Drama. Total drama.
Have you ever noticed we never hear about the sexualization of Caitlin Clark? Why don't we see Caitlin Clark being sexualized? Because Caitlin Clark doesn't allow it.
The truth is, Caitlin Clark's success stems from her undeniable talent, marketability, and work ethic. Her ability to draw massive crowds, command six-figure speaking fees, and secure multi-million-dollar endorsements has nothing to do with her race. It is a testament to her ability to inspire and connect with people on a global scale. While Angel Reese and Jemele Hill attempt to play the race card to discredit her, they ignore the fact that Clark's achievements are earned, not handed to her.
And when you do stuff like that and you're drawing attention to yourself because of that, that can be problematic for you, especially when the comparison is going to be drawn to Caitlin Clark, who isn't doing such things.
It's not all about sharing everything. It's about actually keeping a lot of this stuff intimate and private. Personally, I wouldn't wear that because that's not the way I want to be represented.
She's literally held up an outline after getting waxed. Oh yes, please tell me how sexualized you are.
The recent incident involving Caitlin Clark and a dangerous stalker highlights the darker side of fame and how it exposes athletes to serious threats. Despite the gravity of the situation, the lack of vocal support from high-profile figures like Angel Reese and Jemele Hill has been glaring. Reese, who often portrays herself as an advocate for players' safety and well-being, has remained notably silent, drawing criticism from fans and commentators alike.
She is not dumb. She's quite a brilliant young lady. She is in this age where she does know social media exists, and she has exploited it to her advantage. That means you're mindful of the imagery and the perception that you're assisting in creating about yourself.
In late 2024, a 55-year-old man from Denton, Texas, was arrested in Indianapolis on charges of stalking Caitlin Clark. Reports revealed that the man had sent Clark disturbing messages on social media, shared alarming posts claiming he had circled her house, and engaged in behavior that left her safety in jeopardy. If convicted, the stalker faces up to 6 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. The situation underscores the unique vulnerabilities public figures face, particularly women in sports.
Unfortunately, this is something that so many celebrities have to deal with. This is probably, unfortunately, not the only person who goes as far as to actually stalking her.
What stands out in this incident is the stark contrast in responses from the sports community. While WNBA star Satu Sabali and sports personality Rachel Demita publicly voiced their support for Clark, others like Angel Reese and Jemele Hill stayed silent.
You're a survivor of sexual misconduct and you work with survivors. What more can be done to protect women athletes as they rise in popularity?
Usually these stalkers end up getting a suspended sentence or some sort of probation, even though this person could get up to 6 years in prison. And we do need to start becoming more stringent in the penalties that we hand out, not just suspended sentences and not just probation.
This silence is particularly striking given Reese's history of speaking out about harassment and her own claims of victimization. Reese has previously detailed her experiences with threats and invasive behavior, even sharing how AI-generated images of her were used to harass her online. However, when another player faces a similar, if not more severe, ordeal, Reese's advocacy is nowhere to be found.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, she's forcing me to do this.
Stop.
And then we got Angel Reese's dumbass. Now, she's just stupid. I feel bad for Angel Reese.
Like, you know, people gonna say that about you. They're like, oh, you're my favorite.
No, I am their favorite.
Angel Reese cares more about influencing than she does about basketball. Now, you can't necessarily say the same about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark understands that people are tuning into her for how she's going to transform what is happening in the WNBA, and the WNBA needs to embrace her more because she's going to get them women paid.
Who's the best player in the country?
To the media or me?
As you see it.
I feel like I'm the best player in the country.
But every time you see something relative to Angel Reese, what's it about? It's about her. It's not about her team. One makes it about her, the other makes it about us.
Dan Dakich, a prominent sports commentator, was quick to point out this inconsistency. On his YouTube channel, Dakich criticized Reese for what he called selective advocacy, saying, Angel Reese, who constantly complains about being mistreated, has said nothing about Caitlin Clark facing a legitimate stalker threat. It's hypocritical, plain and simple. He went further to highlight Jemele Hill's role in perpetuating double standards, accusing her of stirring divisive narratives rather than addressing the real issue of player safety. Some defenders of Reese argue that private outreach may have occurred, but the public nature of Clark's ordeal calls for more visible solidarity. Reese has, in the past, demanded public support for her struggles, making her silence on Clark's situation all the more conspicuous. This double standard hasn't gone unnoticed by fans and analysts, many of whom see it as a calculated decision to avoid aligning with Clark, whom Reese has publicly criticized in the past.
I think Angel Reese want to sell pussy. Yeah, I think Angel Reese really don't want to play basketball. I think she want to sell pussy.
She put a video up on the Instagram, her in some booty shorts for Christmas. All right, the same person that come out and said she didn't want to be sexualized, and I think Charleston White is trying to make a point.
The incident has reignited broader discussions about the need for stronger safety measures for athletes. Advocates like Rachel Demita have called on leagues like the WNBA to implement stricter protocols to protect players from harassment and stalking. Demita stated, "It's time for the sports world to take these threats seriously and provide athletes with the support they need to feel safe, both on and off the court."
And when you look at Caitlin Clark is balling. She's a Rookie of the Year. She was one of the finalists for the league MVP honors as a rookie, breaking all types of records. She should have been on Team USA. Her brand building has been incredibly impressive.
While the criticism of Reese and Hill is harsh, it underscores a deeper issue. The sports community must set aside personal differences and come together to address player safety. Clark's situation is a reminder that fame often comes with a price, but it's also an opportunity for the sports world to unite against these threats. By staying silent, figures like Reese and Hill miss a chance to show solidarity and leadership, ultimately diminishing their credibility as advocates for athletes.
I feel like I always have had really good perspective on everything that's kind of happened in my life, whether that's been good, whether that's been bad. And then obviously coming to the WNBA, like I've said, I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career. But also, I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years. So like I said, like, I try to just be real and authentic and, you know, share my truth. And I think that's very easy for me. Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And that's kind of been how it is my entire life.
Yes.
Caitlin Clark's journey is a testament to hard work, resilience, and the ability to rise above the noise. While critics like Angel Reese and Jemele Hill attempt to undermine her achievements with divisive narratives, Clark continues to let her actions speak louder than their words. Whether it's her record-breaking performances on the court, her multi-million-dollar endorsement deals, or her commanding presence as a speaker, Caitlin Clark is setting a standard that others can only dream of reaching. The lack of support from figures who claim to champion fairness and equality reveals more about their intentions than it does about Clark's undeniable success.
Caitlin Clark has handled her branding extremely well. Whereas with Angel Reese, sometimes you find yourself scratching your head and wondering what the hell she's doing. Like that photo right there. But when you do that, you can't come down the line and complain about being objectified later on. It's not going to work.
In the face of jealousy, baseless criticism, and even personal threats, Clark remains focused, proving that talent and character will always outshine negativity. As fans, it's important to recognize and celebrate athletes like Caitlin Clark, who uplift the sport and inspire the next generation. Her story reminds us that greatness isn't handed to anyone. It's earned through grit, determination, and unwavering self-belief. And for those who seek to tear her down, the truth is clear. No amount of hate can overshadow Caitlin Clark's brilliance. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that dive into the truth behind the headlines. Until next time, stay tuned and stay informed.